This podcast is about the dopamine reward system, the brain's reward system, and it's messing up everyone's brain, developing bad habits and being non-productive. Let's deal with this and discuss what possible maneuvers or possible practices can help rewire our brain and fix our dopamine reward system. This is Dr. Raul from Cadenza Medical Clinic, Ave Maria, Florida. And this is Medicine and Faith Talk Series. There are different components of the reward system. Of course, the neurotransmitter is the dopamine. So it's part of our evolution. It's an adaptive mechanism to develop some behavior, reinforce behavior, and hopefully the good behavior so that you can continue doing this behavior. It is released during goal-directed activity. For example, you're looking to win the Olympics. As you achieve simple goals and short goals leading you to the Olympic medal is a more meaningful increase of the reward system. However, nowadays it's been hijacked, and we'll talk about that in a few. The nucleus accumbens is the area of the brain that is like the central hub of reward. It receives the dopamine and is associated with feelings of pleasure, reinforcement, and habit formation. The prefrontal cortex is the center where there is development of processing of the executive decision making. It's the center for the executive function. And that's where it's being processed as, is this a moral judgment that I'm going to execute? And impulsivity doesn't happen in the prefrontal cortex. It is well thought of decisions. The next one is the amygdala and the hippocampus. Amygdala is also in the processing of emotions. And usually it's the negative emotions. It's heightened when you are anxious, when you're angry, when you are having fear, when you're traumatized. In contrast, hippocampus is a center for joy and for memory. These centers are activated when you meditate. As you know, there are two components of meditation. The guided breathing, where you breathe slow and deep, and guided meditation, or meditation in itself, the mindfulness. Mindful about something that you want to believe. And I recommend that you meditate on His unconditional love of Christ's passion, because it is enduring. His main goal is to save mankind. And He endured suffering to get that reward of the resurrection, where He can go to heaven and leave behind us the Eucharist. If you peg on a long enduring, goal-directed activity, which is going to heaven, then you'll be more happy, you'll be more joyful, rather than having those dopamine spikes from sugar, from social media, and many others. So let's talk about how the modern society has hijacked dopamine. First, the social media, instant likes. There's a dopamine spike. Even checking the phone, anticipating on what is the phone going to give you, that gives you dopamine spikes. And because the dopamine is spiked up, receptors develop for dopamine and it increases, leaving behind some unfulfilled receptors that would crave for more dopamine. As a consequence, the body or the brain would look for more of the source of the dopamine spikes. That's why you get addicted. Reels, videos, even short spurts of those. Instagram is notorious. The algorithm makes you dig, look, and explore. It's a novelty type of pleasure that can only be fulfilled if you stop it forcibly. And with the help of the practice of meditation, your brain is rewired so that there will be no curiosity about these things. Have the discipline of putting away the phone or the sugar. Don't put it in the cupboard, or don't buy those things. Don't buy the processed food. If you're addicted to alcohol, don't bring alcohol inside the house. Take, for example, the processed food. Processed food is very delicious. It is an answer to the society's busy schedule, and it's the high fructose corn syrup, usually, or sugar, that will help you crave for more of this particular food. So processed food has the propensity for you to have increased appetite, not necessarily related to your hunger. It's in the brain, manipulated. Salt can do this also, and fatty foods. The dopamine spike is spiked up all the time when you have sugar and salty food. And this is a scenario when you have high cortisol level from stress. Well, stress can be controlled with meditation. It's a good way to practice meditation. Any meditation would do it, has proven some increase or improvement of the neurophysiological wiring of the brain. But as a Christian, we should not be doing yoga or other types of meditation. It's not good for our soul. Yoga is self-centered. So what is self-centeredness is pride. Well, that's the friend of our enemy. We don't want that. So unconditional love meditation is enduring. It is love. It carries all the aspects of true joy if you meditate. Now, this hijacking of the dopamine system leads to reward prediction error. So our brain gets used to cheap dopamine spikes or dopamine high and becomes numb to deeper, slower sources of joy, like the suffering you have to endure. You get your medical degree, you have to endure the number of hours that you have to spend going through a marathon, going to an Olympic goal, everyday rigor. The joy of every pain is palpable. Desensitization. So what happens is, it takes more to feel the same way as you had the like that you had experienced when your Facebook post was liked. It will just increase. There's no stopping your appetite for likes. And this is a problem because if you don't meet, if the expectation is not met in the reward system that is in you now, you will feel sad. This will lead to depression, anxiety, and anger about you're not worth it because nobody likes you, when in fact, people like you just the same. But the expectation has just changed. You're desensitized. The addictive cycles also will become bound to behaviors that don't actually satisfy the soul. Idleness, laziness, because you're not producing yourself productively, but sitting on digital media and some social media posts. This will create a vacuum in your soul. By this will make you feel sad and get depressed. So how do you regulate the dopamine levels? As I said, there's certain types of meditation that can help this. Unconditional love meditation of Christ's passion for us is the best example. How do we meditate? There are two components of meditation. Guided breathing, where you guide yourself slow and deep, like this. You count 4 when you inhale. 1, 4, hold, exhale, and then you repeat this. It's also good to incorporate the great meditative breathing prayer or the Jesus prayer of the great Saint Anthony of the Desert in 400s. They would practice it this way. When you inhale, and your mind, you would say, Jesus, Son of the living God. Hold. When you exhale, you say, have mercy on us sinners. So it's a cycle of this. Jesus, Son of the living God, have mercy on us sinners. So if you get distracted, put back your thoughts again and go back to the chant of the Jesus, Son of the living God, have mercy on us sinners. You do this about 25 times at a time, like 4 minutes, and repeat until you probably get 3 sets. This will reset your sympathetic tone to the parasympathetic tone. Your hippocampus will be flourished with blood and increase in capacity, in volume. The prefrontal cortex will develop, will be more engaged and more active. In that way, your decision making is more morally considered, well thought of decisions instead of impulse decision making, like impulse buying or impulse engagement of some relationship. Meditation, as I said, would increase your prefrontal cortex, which is the center for executive function. The cortisol level or the stress hormone will decrease because the sympathetic tone is diverted to parasympathetic tone, where you're resting and digesting. The parasympathetic tone is a healing and stabilizing state. So when you do meditate, it rewires the default reward cues, meaning you will not be looking for instant gratification or even the likes. If you abstain from social media for at least a day or 2, the dopamine rewires. You will not crave for the social media or anything. For example, the processed food. It takes about 2 days to change your taste buds where you won't be craving for sugar. And if you're not exercising enough, exercise, just one exercise will trigger you to exercise more. Because when you exercise, BDNF in the brain is increased. It's a brain-derived neurotropic factor which is responsible for improving the myelin sheath that is pruned when you're stressed. So all these things that you can do with meditation, with unconditional love, through His passion, fasting from sugar and calories, and exercising helps. It rewires your brain. So again, the circuit of checking the phone with dopamine hit, junk food, instant gratification, pornography that leads to false intimacy, and gaming that gives you endless novelty reward. These things can shrink your brain, and it happens many times. I've observed this in patients. Over time, your brain gets addicted to quick hits, and you think it's a good hit. But no, it's the enduring, goal-oriented tasks, like thinking about where I'm going to be in the next few years. Will I go to medical school? Will I start looking for a relationship, for future marriage? These are things that keeps the reward system stable, but not the instant hits. Meditation of His unconditional love through Christ's passion is one good meditation that you can practice so that we can rewire the effects of dopamine spikes. This is Dr. Inad from Cadenza Medical Clinic. If you like this video, please like, drop a comment, share, and follow.